Guys, I'm excited for this. I don't think there's an athlete this year and his team that has had a bigger year than you guys have. I wrote down some of it. Won a Super Bowl. Travis hosted SNL. You guys invested in F1. He's had 4 or 5 national ad campaigns. He went back to SNL. He has a very high-profile romantic relationship right now, if folks are unaware. Hit me with some adjectives. What is this? Has this been stressful? Has it been fun? Has it been easy? What has the last 12 months been like in your world?
I mean, not really stressful. I mean, I think I always say it happened at the right time, right? Because we've been working, obviously, as a team, with Travis for over 11, 12 years now. And so, when you have that time and you take the time and to build out that team, it just, honestly, it happened at the right time. And I think we're big believers in, like, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And so, we thought he was going to do SNL 3 years ago. We thought he was going to, when the first Super Bowl happened, but then the pandemic happened. So we kind of planned for that moment, back then. And so, like, when it came, it was, one of those things, like, we were ready for it. I mean, we weren't ready because it was, like, literally after the Super Bowl, everyone was up till, like, 8 a.m. We get the call in, like, Arizona, like, hey, they want me to do this. And we're like, oh, man.
It was that day?
Oh, yeah, it was the next day. It was like, I was like, I don't think he slept yet. And so, yeah, it was. So I think that but it was one of the things that's like one of the few things he was just like, I really want to do this. And so, I think that was what made it easy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. What do you think?
I mean, I got a lot of adjectives, but we'll go with fun. It's just been very fun. I mean, to Aaron's point, we've been doing this for a long time, and like, there's a whole side of the world that's seeing who Travis is, the personality that he has, and his abilities off the field. Because of winning Super Bowls and being on SNL and doing magazine articles. And, if we think about the summer and, getting Travis to do and be in all those commercials and the work that took and the planning and the organizing and all that stuff, and for everyone to kind of start to see and recognize it, it's just been, fun to see. Our work pays off.
Let's start back at the beginning. You guys have a really interesting business history. You started A&A Management 2011, I believe. You're both in college at the time, not at the same school even. Walk us through what led to, hey, you know what? Let's stand up a management firm right now as guys in their late teens or even young 20s.
I mean, being young and dumb. I mean, I think it was the best time, honestly. We got to give a lot of, credit to where we grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. We had a lot of people, whether it's the Paul brothers, whether it's LeBron, whether it's Kid Cudi, whether it's MGK. We had a lot of people that gave us, like, an inspiration on, like, what could be possible, right? And then we went to St. Edward High School, which was a powerhouse in, like, a lot of different sports. And we had friends that were, top recruits in their class that we thought were going to be one and done in basketball. Top recruits going in the country and winning football. And so, it's sitting around the lunch table. It's like, I want to, my friend who was named Delvon Rowe was a top 1 or 2 player in the country in basketball. He was good, deciding between Michigan State or North Carolina. We're sitting at lunch table, he was going to be my manager. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean? And, coming from a family with franchising backgrounds, like, I wanted to understand everything that meant before I could be like, yeah, I want to do this. And so that was really, by going to Bowling Green State University, minor in entrepreneurship, I was able to take, like, the resources in college and like everything from, all the different data things you have access to in the library to actually truly understand the business, understand, like, what a business plan looked like, understand, like, what I thought the industry would be and how it was. And so it gave me, like, because I was in college and because we didn't have, like, a lot going on, I was able to, like, really just take 2-3 years before we actually launched the business to actually understand the business, understand the industry, and understand what we thought it could be, right? And, obviously you had a totally different path as well, but I think, in part of, creating that, it allowed us to, like, go to a client or potential client through our network of friends and say, we want to manage you. And this is what we mean by what we want to manage you and how we're going to manage you. And being able to sign, a guy my junior year college, Chimney Chekwa out of, the Oakland who was with the Oakland Raiders at the
Ohio
time.
State, right?
Yeah, Ohio State guy. We had a lot of friends at Ohio State. We got a lot of no's, but he was, actually we were the cheapest option. We were charging a retainer at the time, and, he was a finance major. He really wanted to kind of, like, leverage his platform as an athlete for opportunities off the field. And so by signing him and kind of working with him for a year and kind of it allowed us to pitch Travis, when he was at Cincinnati.
What's the pitch like when you don't have client? The first guy that you get it's obviously way easier now, but what are you telling him that you can do for him when there's not a stable of athletes behind you that you can point to?
I think it's understanding what he wants. Like, what do you want us to do? Like, what goals, objectives, ideas do you have for yourself, your career, that like, and then understanding what he wants, we can understand, okay, here's the services we provide, here's how, which are all ideas at the time, right? And had no experience. And, this is what we think can happen based on what your goals and objectives are and how we can define a level of success together, versus, just saying, oh, we have all these clients, we could do all this stuff for you. It's like, I think that was really, from my perspective, how the pitch was. And, I was a little surprised he said yes, but was happy he said yes.
And the Travis connection is, it's like a classic business story. There's a little bit of luck involved, right? You guys knew Travis's roommate at Cincinnati. And then there's a little bit of talent involved, right? Which is convincing someone like that, hey, we may not have 20 years of experience in this business, but we are the right people to start managing the kind of the off-field business around your future.
Yeah, I think I'll pass it off to him. But like we were talking earlier, and like in any business relationship, no matter who you are, it starts with a level of trust. And he had that level of trust just due to the their connection, right? And so I think that was what opened the door for the conversation.
Yeah, and to back it up, Aaron has this great knowledge of what sports management can be, et cetera, and I wanted to be in the NBA, so he was going to be my manager, if you ask me. But
easy first client.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
Shot that dream down.
So he told me to stop playing, but whatever.
What year did that dream
So my
die?
freshman year, I went to a small school in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my senior year, I went to St. Edward High School in Cleveland. We played on ESPN. We played against Drew Holiday. Tom Izzo was in the building. And it was just a great experience. We went to the state championship. Everyone was watching us. And then in college, first game of the season, it's in a bubble in the middle of nowhere, and 3 people are there. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't think NBA's in my sights. So I played the season out, and then went to University of Cincinnati and majored in sports management. But my best friend growing up was roommates with Travis. We knew each other, got on Facebook, which back then Facebook was a big thing, and we were like, hey, you're from Cleveland. Hey, I'm from Cleveland. We should do something, and that was kind of how the relationship started. When I was in college, I started an event management business. So I used to throw events and book events, and I managed a couple DJs. And every time there was an event or a party going on, Travis and DJ were like, hey, what's the move? And that's kind of how we, built our friendship and our relationship. And I majored in sports management. Me and Aaron in the back of our head knew this was something we were going to be doing. So we've kind of, all my moves were kind of tailored and catered towards how can I be involved in this management business. And that's when I got into finance.
And at some point, you and Travis are working at a telemarketing center together while he's suspended from the
so I need to make
football
money.
team.
I need to make money. Football players probably didn't have as much bills as I did, but yeah, I worked at a telemarketing center at the University of Cincinnati. They would, on the screen, it would tell me exactly what to say, when to say it. Most of the time, never got through the whole monologue, but it was a job. And I think I remember when Travis lost his scholarship, he had to come work there. And Melissa, she was our boss. She was very strict, and it was crazy. It was all your classmates were in the same room, so it was like going to school and getting paid for it.
Who was a better salesman, you or Travis?
It probably Travis, for sure. I was I just read the things and I didn't want to have a conversation. I just let me read what's on this, and if you hang up on me, fine. He'll probably talk you into staying on the phone for a couple longer, but not answer any of the questions that needed to be answered though. But so that was a fun time. I kind of forgot about that until you just asked all these questions.
And then at some point, you guys have a serious conversation with him, or maybe not, about he's going to the NFL. You guys want to obviously keep doing this with him.
Yeah.
What
so
does it look
his
like
senior
to get
year, we
him
were recruiting a
locked in?
lot. So we were going out to Arizona. We had friends that played at Illinois. We were going to a lot of different places, and Travis was right there in our backyard. So it was always something like, we were like, hey, I'm about to start this management company. Me and my brother think we'd be a good fit to work with you, et cetera. And he was just kind of on board from the beginning to kind of hear the things that we had to offer and what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. Luckily, the year before, as Aaron mentioned, we signed Chimney Checkwell, so we had a little bit of experience on what that could look like. And we were able to sit down with Travis and explain to him what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And he already had that level of trust with us. And being back, we talked about it back in the green room, athletes, when they sit down and figure out who's going to manage the rest of their life, be their agents, et cetera, it's a tough decision to make. And I think we've built that trust, not just when we were in college, but all throughout Cleveland, playing in the AAU circuit. You meet families, you meet friends all the time. You may not hang out all the time, but, you get an idea of who those people are. And then when you go to the same school, it just makes that even better.
So 10 years later, give us a sense of who else is is part of the family. How big is the business right now?
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate. We have 6 full-time employees, and like I would say, like it started with just me doing all the work. And so I'm a big believer in like team building and like finding people that are way smarter than me. So, we were able to bring over, Sarah on our team who, came from, working in college sports and dealing with international speakers and kind of have her working on our community outreach side and bringing over someone like a Danielle who came from Viacom over 15 years doing music strategy and like fashion and entertainment deals. And then, most recently a guy named Brian Matoni came from, a big basketball agency to kind of handle all of our marketing, and everything was kind of designed which in the beginning, if you look at the original business plan, there was a lot of similar roles that we needed. But as time went on, as experiences went on, and as our network grew, we kind of were able to bring over really good people to really just focus on, what do our clients need in the here and now, but then also because of that time we've been able to like take to understand the full journey. We can meet clients where they're at in that moment, but then at the same time think about what their strategy is going to look like down the road.
I have a sister who's 3 years older than me. I love her to death. If we were principals in the same business, it would be the worst business ever. How is do you guys ever fight? Are you always on the same wavelength? What is it like being business partners with your twin brother?
You want to answer first?
I mean, as you guys probably can just tell, we're different. He's got the tight collar on. It's like. But at the same time, like we had different paths. So when I graduated from the University of Cincinnati, I got into finance instantly because I fell in love with finance. And, my mom forced me to get a job after I decided the MBA wasn't going to work. And it ended up being at a bank, and I fell in love with it and kind of grew and progressed through that. But knowing, again, in the back of my head, learning everything I can about finance and, like, how can I help athletes long term, like just knowing the basics of finance. And then moved into private wealth, then did some venture. And I've only been working at A&A full time, essentially, since 2018. So, like, I think we were able to, be good partners because we weren't like, oh, you do marketing deals, I want to do marketing deals. It was, no, you're going to handle the marketing deals. How can I find my niche and what I want to do that makes me most, excited and happy every day, right? And do we fight? Not really. We argue a lot. But it's always on the same wavelength. So like I'll be here, he'll be here, but the argument always gets us to the answer. So
are you guys doing good cop, bad cop? What stylistically? What is the different approach? Who does which?
I would say the reason we can work together is because like in a family, like in our family, like business is business and family's family. Those are two separate things. Where I think a lot of people that have issues working with family, it's because they like we're family. It's like that doesn't matter. Like this is business, right? And so I think that's why we could be like it's good. Because like we could be completely honest with each other and like yell, have heated discussions, mostly in the car, and literally go to dinner if he's in town the next day, like nothing ever happened, or like a few hours later just be on the phone and like nothing ever happened, which is good because like we look at it from a different standpoint. Like I look at everything more from a marketing, a communications, a entertainment lens, where he's looking at it like just dollars and cents. Like, and so it's good to kind of have that balance of like what's the big vision, but then also like what's the here and now.
We talk at Sportico a lot about the way in which the business of athletes is changing. And 20 years ago, most athletes got a check to make an appearance or to endorse a product, and that was it. And now there's so many athletes, Travis, and I'm sure a lot of your other guys as well, who are doing really interesting things, right? They want to invest. They don't want to just sponsor. They want to build media companies. Travis has a great podcast. I'm curious from where you sit, how you see that changing as athletes become a little bit more savvy, as their business managers become a little bit more savvy. How that market is changing for the influence of professional athletes.
I mean, I would say you might have a different opinion, but like maybe same opinion. I don't know. But I would say that. Yes, it's definitely changing where athletes can command, things like equity. They can obviously own their own media business. There's no better time to be an athlete with power and influence. But at the same time, I think what's lost is a lot of the athletes that you see that are doing it and doing it well did not start there, right? And I think what's missed is the partnership on the lower level, working with good brands, working with good, like just understanding how to be a good partner. And like when we talk to all of our clients, like and some of the people in the room know, like we tell our clients all the time, like at the end of the day, yes, you're our client, but at the same time, like you're a business. And so like the relationship that we have and how we represent you is going to matter in the industry. So like if we do a brand deal and you commit something, like your word is your bond. You have to do it. I don't care what you say, right? Like you could say no all you want, but like that's the conversations that we have, because at the end of the day, and that's I think why Travis is successful today is because we've done a lot of deals over the last decade with companies big and small, and a lot of those relationships grew over time, and they grew with him, or they grew in different ways. But at the same time, that market and the companies, brands, production houses, you name it, they understand he's a good partner and understand he's a good person to work with, which brings the opportunities where a lot of, I would say, some of the downfall that you see in certain situations is the talent, the client not understanding how to be a good partner.
In that relationship, are you more often bringing stuff to him? This company called, do you want to do this? Is he calling you guys and saying, I love this space, I love that company, like reach out to them, see what is the flow of conversation? Which direction does it typically go?
I mean, generally it starts internally. Like we think about like every year, like where we see the person being, where we see his career being, like especially with Travis now, it's like a business. So it's like, it's pretty systemized.
Yeah.
Where, so once we figure out that, then we just go to market and figure out like what categories we want to attack, what opportunities we want to look for. And a lot of times now, especially, I mean, like everything that happened last year, everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe all this stuff happened. But it was like 3 years in the making.
Yeah.
So it was really, I mean, whether it's the podcast, whether it's SNL, those were like long-term conversations, and really being able to take the time to go to market to understand what we're getting into so that we can make sure it's set up for the best way. So like with the younger guys though, it's more same thing. Like you're doing it the same same process, but it's more just completely outreach.
I love that SNL called like right after the Super Bowl, like an hour after the game. We walk the Super Bowl. So
no, like they call it the next day.
The next day.
But it was like, anybody that like experiences that, it's just a constant party afterwards. And like people do not sleep. So around 9 a.m. Pacific time, they're in New York. They're like, oh, it's noon. It's like, well, yeah, no one went to bed. So yeah.
And is your phone ringing off the hook in those 24 hours? Like is that the time when a lot of either brands or media groups are like, oh, we got to lock in these guys that are now the top of the NFL, or is that a unique situation?
No, like they reached out. So a little bit of like SNL was something that like Travis, to your earlier point, he does not say, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like SNL is the only thing he ever said, I would like to do this. So like that was when we started to kind of figure out like how do we even accomplish that? And who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to meet? And so we had a lot of conversations with their producers, their, talent bookers, and like the first conversations, obviously they're like, yeah, nah, I mean, welcome, join the list. And so like, but as time went on, especially around the first Super Bowl, they started to say, okay, if he has an interest, that might be interesting to us. And then, he fast forward to last year, I think during a bye week or something, he was going to see his brother play. And then, he was like, hey, I want to go to SNL. And so I was like, all right, the producer I've been talking to, I was like, hey, Travis wants to come. And I knew, like, if Travis goes to SNL, he's going to get SNL. Because, like, he's going to meet Lauren. Lauren's going to love him. And, like, he is a comedy, like, nerd. So he knows the history of SNL, everything. So he goes to SNL when Jack Holler was doing his hosting and met Lauren. Producers called me the next day. Was he serious about wanting to host? I'm like, yes, I've been saying this for 3 years.
Just that easy. Get them in a room together, and that's
so they were like, well, there might be an opportunity, and they gave me the range of dates that it might happen. And so I kind of had but they didn't also say it was predicated on the Super Bowl. So I kind of knew when it could happen, but then literally he wins the Super Bowl. Next morning, they're like, yep, we want him. And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, we told you. I kind of was like, all right. So that's how it kind of happened.
That must be a good phone call to get. Like,
I mean,
your guy really wants to do this?
It was great, but then I was like,
Got it.
I don't know if he's going to say yes at this point in time. And honestly, if he didn't go on Jimmy Fallon, he wouldn't have done it. Because, like, Jimmy, he was not committed to do it then, but they wanted to announce it. And so he walks out from Jimmy, like, and was like, well, guess I'm doing it now, because he kind of announced it.
Yeah.
He was kind of like, all right, I'm doing it.
And there have been a number of national ad campaigns, Campbell's, State Farm, Pfizer, and I know there are others. Are those in the works long before? When do those things happen in kind of the cycle of when people see them on TV versus when deals get signed?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. When SNL happened, we really, again, like going back to like thinking about what's possible. Like we really wanted to make sure that was kind of like a tipping point from, as an athlete, especially in the NFL, like you're being categorized as like you're an athlete. They look at your market, they look at the league, and then you're kind of capped. But like SNL was an opportunity to say, okay, now like it proved that he's talent. And so it opened up the opportunities, which is why if you look at like a DirecTV, Experian, I would say Pfizer, those are more talent-based opportunities that traditionally didn't work with individual athletes in the way that they did like with talent. And so I think those happened shortly, a little within a few months after SNL, because everything that we did was per Travis. He wanted locked up before the start of the season.
You guys work with NFL players, you work with NBA players, you work with folks in other leagues as well. Do you see a difference between, a lot of folks think that NFL players got the helmet on, a lot of them are not recognizable on the street in the way that a lot of NBA players are because you see their face every time they're playing. Do you see a difference between either the way the league operates or even athletes in those leagues think about their commercial recognizability and what that means for their opportunities?
I would say yes, mainly because of the players' associations, I would say. Like in the NFL, they're incentivized through the players' association to work with a broad group. So like players in small markets, players that are young, like there's opportunities. Where in like versus the NBA versus other sports in general, their players' associations haven't kind of trained the market. So the assumption from brands is like the cost is prohibitive for certain guys in certain leagues and certain men and women. So I think that's the difference, is really just the market understanding what's possible with a person or with a talent, especially depending on their league.
You mentioned Pfizer. A lot of brand deals are very uncontroversial. Somehow Travis's Pfizer deal became a little feud between him and Aaron Rodgers. Is that something that you guys foresaw? Was that a conversation that happened before? Did that shock you? How did that play out in your world?
Again, I mean, I think we overanalyze internally everything. So, I mean, if from our standpoint, and I mentioned it in the green room, like everything is done based on what is authentic and true to the client, right? And so he did campaigns at the height of, I would say, COVID, with Walgreens and with, I think, even the NFL. And it really came down to, the big thing, like Travis is not a political person. And so, but the campaign was centered around a choice. So it was give people the choice to do what they want to do, and that is something that he truly believes in. And so when Aaron Rodgers came out and did what he did, it honestly just made us look even like better partners because they gave even more media value to the opportunity. And at the end of the day, it's something that it wasn't obviously expected that was going to happen, but at the same time you do look at and kind of evaluate what the potential brand risk is for anything you do. And so I think overall it was relatively in line of what we thought would happen.
I'm sure Pfizer appreciated the way that he clapped back too. I know he embraced it as opposed to hiding from it.
It wasn't directly on talking points, but he didn't see the talking points.
Athletes, man, right?
I didn't send them. That's my fault.
Andre, you guys, F1, another big part of the biggest business push this year. How did that come about? Is that something, again, does he tell you guys, I'd love to get into F1? Do you guys get an opportunity and bring it to him? How does that come about?
Yeah, I mean, so Travis is very, very, very involved in his investment portfolio. He has probably 27 different private investments that he's done over the years.
What's in there? What else is in there?
So you got Silver Oak, A-Shock Energy, Casa Azul Tequila. I mean, there's I can go on and on. We just invested in John Deere, a franchise with John Deere. We've invested in car washes, so we've across the spectrum done a lot of different things over the years. And he doesn't really say go find something. So like Aaron talks about with marketing and stuff. There's like what am I passionate about? What I kind of be involved in? But when it comes to investing, if it's a good deal, you're going to make that investment whether you're the spokesperson of the brand or not. When it came to Alpine, we've looked at sports teams for over the past 5 years. It started with the Mets, which didn't end up working out. Then it moved into the Indians, didn't work out. Columbus Crew didn't work out. FC didn't work out. And then
for the Mets, are you talking to a specific partner? Is it a specific group?
So I don't know.
Who are you working with?
Not to get into all the details of how that didn't work out, but just the group that he wanted to invest in. They just didn't win the bid or whatever it was.
Gotcha.
But it also was a matter of like him wanting to be involved in a team that he can be a part of and help grow, help expand, and not just be a name on the cap table. And when it came to F1, Alpine, we've known the Ocho Capital guys are majority of them from Cleveland. We have that relationship with them being from Cleveland. We've stayed in contact over the years about opportunities over and over again, and a lot of them didn't work out. But when this one was presented, it did. And Alpine was specifically wanted to build their brand in the United States, and they felt like famous people, professional athletes, people with influence, no pun intended, can actually bring that value to the team. So when we sat down with them and talked to them, that's kind of what the conversation was about. And Travis, we went to Miami F1, and that's when he fell in love with the sport. And, how can we get involved was the conversation. And from there, we just figured out a way to get involved. For me, it was more about, valuation versus how, most American sports teams. So it was an amazing valuation. We could see the potential growth long term, and being able to help them with brand partnerships in the United States, which they have none of, was a big part of us, getting involved in that deal.
F1's in a crazy place right now. Some of these teams were sold for like $1 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're billion-dollar businesses. And as we were talking about before, once the cost leveling measures come in and it looks maybe a little bit more like the NFL than European soccer. Yeah. I think the valuations are going to continue to soar. For that deal, who's in that first? Is Patrick Mahomes in that first, or is Travis? Who brought who along for that?
So we've done a lot of deals, and every time we do deals, my mindset is how can I get everyone that I'm in my orbit, especially if they're A&A Management clients, into the opportunities. Because we sat down with Travis a long time ago, and he understands the opportunities that he gets aren't necessarily the same as a Denzel Ward may potentially get. But obviously, if you guys know who Denzel Ward is, he's one of the highest paid cornerbacks in the league. But he's not as outward spoken as Travis. He's not going to be in the room and work a room like Travis and understand the business relationships like him. So a long time ago, we sat down and we talked about building out what a co-investment platform could look like for the opportunities Travis gets, the opportunities we get presented, and even opportunities that other clients get presented that Travis may want to be involved in. So when Alpine came to the table, obviously Travis is the number one. Hey, do you want to do this? How much do you want to invest? Do all that, sizing and whatnot, and then whatever's left over, we kind of syndicate that to who we think can make sense. So when it came to Mahomes, I really was just like, hey, Trav, you think this would be something Pat would be interested in? And he was like, sure, ask him, So just asked him. And sure enough, he was just like, yeah, let's do it. I think, a lot of things, people think this is like rocket science. I'm shout out to Charlie Munger, passed away, one of my idols in investing, but he always talked about keeping it simple. You know what I mean? So the Patrick thing was simply like, hey, we hang out all the time. You're around all the time. We get great opportunities. When I see them, can I bring them to you and your team? And he's been open about that ever since.
We only have 5 minutes left, but I want to make sure I get to the other major story, obviously, in Travis's life right now. I'm sure you guys don't care about his romantic and personal relationships, except when they bleed over into the business side. What was the moment at which you guys realized, oh my gosh, this is a real thing, and this is going to be something that involves us as well, obviously, on his business side?
Yeah, I mean, his personal life has never really bled into the business side, honestly. I think, and that's the one thing about him. He's very, good at family's family, personal stuff's personal stuff. And then a lot of, on the business side, a lot of the stuff was done way before the end of the season. So, and a lot of the stuff that we were working on is, as a result of kind of the last year is really about, building things that can last well after he retires. Especially in the media space, especially in the entertainment space. I mean, so I think the added attention kind of just added fuel to the fire in the conversations that were already happening. But at the same time, I think, when SNL happened, we made a concerted effort to really, make sure that the value that he was seeing in opportunities were commensurate where we thought his number should be. And so on a go-forward basis, it's really just kind of validates that number and makes it looks fair when, people in the past were like, this is too high. So
true or false, when Travis's jersey sales were skyrocketing, he called you guys and was like, do I see any of that money? Do I make money off of that? Or
that's false. That was more so like me being like, yeah, we don't really see much from this.
It's not much. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, that's a great headline, but
yeah. I mean, I'll add to that, right? Because when that happened, like Aaron, we don't see much from that. But Travis does have his own clothing brand. It's called True Colors. He started it 5 years ago. And last year, we were one of the first, professional athletes actively playing to partner with the league and do a collaboration on the brand. So if you guys want to check it out, it's truecolors.com. It's officially collab with the Chiefs. The Chiefs go all in on the marketing and the branding, and it's good to see the NFL reciprocate some of that licensing love that they get, to the players too. So I think that's probably what from the jersey sales we didn't see, but when it came to the clothing line, a lot of the pieces sold out in the first week. So that probably helped a little bit.
Another major change in his brand in the past few months, Instagram following, just social presence, as that grows, does that open doors for you guys to do more? I imagine adding 2 million social media followers in the past 2 months is a great thing to put in your kind of quiver of arrows as you talk to more brands and things like that.
I don't. So as you guys probably noticed, I deal with a lot of more of the investing side and like how can we partner with those types of brands. But on the marketing side, a couple things do come across my desk, and I'll say like the social media following. I feel like we haven't maximized the being able to benefit from that. But also Travis is authentic. He's like, I don't do ads on Instagram, like that. So like he hasn't really cared about the growth in his following. I'm sure the brands that Aaron talked to on a regular basis do care. And some of the investing companies like Casa Azul and A-Shock, they care as well. But from a Travis standpoint, he's like, it's whatever,
So what's next?
I will say on the social side, like if you look at his podcast, if you look at his social numbers, like it is a great like audience, right? And understanding if you're looking at the athlete as a media person, if you're looking at the athlete as a consumer, facing business, like it is building a fan base, it is building an audience, it is building a direct-to-consumer kind of like channel. That is why, even the podcast has had the success it's had is because of the social audience, the social impressions of our partner Wave, in the beginning, but now as an entity itself, it's, over 8 to 9 million followers collectively. So when you're releasing things and doing things, you can get way more consistency in like, I would say the numbers because of the audience you're able to build. So like the audience building is it's from a brand standpoint, it might help on the marketing side, but it's really going to help more so I would say in collectively looking at all the audiences that he has as a distribution channel for media or products.
What should we expect in 2025 from Travis and his business? 2024.
Oh,
yeah. Or 2024. Yeah, let's do that.
A lot of
first.
announcements in the entertainment space.
What's that?
A lot of announcements in the entertainment space.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we're out of time. I got one last one for you. I'll put you on the spot. Who is a bigger marketing star, Travis or Donna Kelce?
Oh, Donna.
Donna, for sure.
Nice.
She also accepts more deals.
More willing, way better.
Way more willing partner.
Do you work with her as well? Is it a whole family thing? No.
So we don't charge Donna. We bring her deals. We don't charge her.
Smart, very smart.
Also,
man.
Mom's gotta eat.
Mom's got to eat. But mom's killing it this year, and she's retired too. So, IRS is going to love that return.
Aaron, André, Eanes, thank you very much, guys.
Let me follow up with one a bit if I may, because
Yep.
I always got to push. First of all, shout out to Alex Scheiner. You didn't say his name, but if you want to go to the Ohio guys, we'll give Alec his shout out there. And let me push just a little bit. I find it fascinating that Travis was trying to get in on the Mets deal. We know who the bidders were. I'm just hypothesizing. If you could tell us, was it A-Rod, J-Lo? It seemed like that would be a group that he would like to align with.
Yes,
It was. Okay.
It was.
Okay, thank you.
That was a surprise. I was sitting in my house and I'm like, hey, Andre, I'm going to buy some of the Mets. And, I got a surprising term sheet. Just didn't work out, which is,
Well, when you see Steve, like you said, your deal with the finance side.
Yeah.
We said, that's great, Travis. I go for it. You do know that Steve Cohen also wants to buy the team,
Which is
right?
why we weren't too concerned with that deal, because we knew they weren't going to win that deal.
Oh, okay.
And I was also like, New York Mets, have you ever been to a game? So we're from Cleveland. We're Indians fans through and through, Guardians fans now. So it's, again, when it came to like investing in sports teams, we always looked at Ohio.
I do know that, David Blitzer does like to bring on investors. Is possibility?
We'll see. There's a lot of, I would say ever since the Alpine deal, every sports team has reached out about an opportunity. So we'll see. There might be another big announcement in 2024 outside of the media space.
Let's focus on 2025, though.
Yeah,
It's going to be a big year. I know it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, André and Aaron. Let's hear it one more time for André and Aaron.